Well, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of How Outsourcing and AI Works for Small to Medium Business, and got a super high value, high takeaway packed episode here with you with Randy Brothers. We're met through the EO Entrepreneurs Organization community. You've heard that as a theme for a lot of my guests, and there's a reason, because it's such a powerful organization and creates connection across the country, across the world. And super excited to hear his journey as an entrepreneur. Built a phenomenal business in the trades and roofing industry, and a number of others that he touches in that space, as a podcast, as a book, been super successful. Now has a whole academy where he's helping others in the trades to kind of scale and grow their companies. So he's got his fingers in a number of different things, and super excited to have you on here, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, looking forward to it, man. It's a long time coming, and grateful to be here, brother.
Absolutely. Well, hey, as always, everybody, I love you. If you don't hear anything else that Randy and I blather about for the next, 25 minutes, we want to share a cool tool resource right up front. And a lot of you know that's what I'm kind of known for. I got our addictive tool series that we send out, because look, hey, there's one cool little tech tool or resource you may find that just changes the game. I know for me, back in the day, it was like screencasting. When I learned about Screencast-O-Matic and how I could like record screen, voice, mouse, like it changed the game on communication. So what I always like to kick off with myself and the guests, just sharing, what's the latest book, resource, tool that maybe you've kind of run across. And Randy, actually being an EO, he actually just went to an event that kind of queued up the one that he wanted to share with us today. So why don't you share with everybody what you experienced recently there?
Yeah, it's funny. A number of my, I'm in my local EO market. A lot of the people I've connected with through EO, we got to go to this event where we went up to Boulder and did some hiking and some yoga and a bunch of really cool, just retreat type stuff. And then the afternoon, we got a private session with Dr. Ben Hardy. So if you're familiar with him, he wrote a lot of books, a few books that are, kind of my staple of books that I not only read, but I also recommend. But he actually just released, I got to go to a private, event with him and hang out and spend some time with him, interacting and chatting and talking about things, asking him questions. And it was like a pre-release of his new book, which is called The Science of Scaling. So if you're not familiar with Ben Hardy and his work, 10X is easier than 2X is another one we did. And shoot, what am I even thinking of?
And Who Not
number
How,
of his books, like Who Not How, that's the one. Yeah, Who Not How is an incredible book. But the Science of Scaling really challenged me to think differently about how I approach business. And it kind of correlates with the 10X is easier than 2X, because like we just talked about, it's all about simplification and simplifying your business in order to duplicate and make it go a lot farther, faster, and in a much shorter time frame. So the biggest concept of this is just, and I won't go too far on it, but it's like, take your 10-year goal and ask yourself, can I get that done in 3 years? And how do I do that? And when you really lean into that thought process, you tend to start eliminating a whole bunch of noise and a whole bunch of things and steps that you think you have to take that are really not that important in the grand scheme of really growing and scaling a significant business.
Yeah, and it's the great curse of so many of us entrepreneurs who also tend to have quite a hefty amount of ADHD a lot of times, since this constant fight and battle of, the million things that can go and the constant ideas and innovation in your brain. And at the end of the day, right, one hammer, one nail, hit it over and over all day long until you get it through the wood to the end of it, right? And not distract with anything else, and to really leverage. And yeah, I'm a huge fan. And discipline or willpower isn't enough is one of Benjamin's first books, and he talks about you gotta create forcing functions in your life, especially as entrepreneurs and business owners, whether it's having mentor groups or mastermind groups like EO forums, having executive coaches, having some accountability function in your life. You got to create a forcing function, or you will find yourself. And I've just found myself, for sure, left to my own devices, right? I'll end up drifting all kinds of places. There's no lack of drive and effort, but it's keeping that accountability and having those forcing functions and putting the right systems around you, right? Whether it's time blocking, whether it's me having my timer in front of me here. This is my Pomodoro that I use for 25-minute blocks of time to kind of focus and execute. But then really simplifying, right, and going deep on the things that are going to matter the most and really drive the needle. It feels kind of uncomfortable almost, right? It's like, oh, I feel like I should be doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And is it really good to put all my chips on black? Well, if you don't put all your chips on black, you'll have your chips on nothing in terms of success. So now, great share. Yeah, go to scalingup.com and all of Ben Hardy's books. And and he's doing all kinds of ads on Facebook. I'm getting retargeted on the things that he's doing. And then who, not how, I can't say enough, especially for, those of us that are hitting into our 30s and our 40s in life. It's about relationship equity, right? It's about all the relationships we build. And there's a who in your life, right? Way more so than you even realize, that can be the solution versus, the how and figuring it out yourself. And so being an EO and YPO, I mean, I feel like I'm one WhatsApp group away from something. Like how you and I came together, right? I was
absolutely.
We started entering into the roofing space, and we got a whole thing we're doing in roofing related to revenue recovery related to the supplement process for roofers. And I posted out into an EOers group, and then got connected. I think Kathy ended up connecting us, and so who, not how. Look for those who's in your life. It can make a huge difference. That can kind of drive things ahead.
Well, and the other one I was blanking on a second ago was The Gap in the Gain. So that was just such a personal development book to just help you really, challenge yourself on how you approach life and think about things, and really, enjoy the journey a lot more as you're doing things, and looking back where you came from versus always worrying about what you haven't accomplished or where you're going. It's just a good mindset training for you to really appreciate where you are and understand where you come from before pressing on going forward.
Yep. It's and a lot of times it's hard charging. We're hard on ourselves as entrepreneurs, and we're hard on our employees a lot of times. Right. And the whole idea is, we're focusing always on the gap, right? What hasn't been done, what hasn't been accomplished, what new thing or goal. And we don't take a moment to pause and, celebrate what we have accomplished. And so now, great share. I certainly appreciate it. That'll be a great one for everybody to kind of lean into. Tons of additional dimension. On my end, real quick, I'll just share like a real tactical tool. And I'll actually pull it up here real quick. I mentioned this one before. It's one we're diving into right now, and ended up being the owners, these guys called a platform called Flowch. A lot of you, when we talk about sales and marketing and going getting our target prospects, right? You got email marketing, you got outbound calling, you've got, social posting and so forth. And a lot of you maybe have, seen people they post, right? And they say, hey, DM this word to get XYZ. And they use a tool called ManyChat. So ManyChat's a good tool out there that, you organize it so when people comment, it'll respond back to you with whatever guide or resource that you requested. But this platform these guys created allows you to create drip nurture sequences using DMs through all the social channels. So whether it's Facebook, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, all of them, you can go to a curated place where there's a target. For example, like on the roofing space, right? There's targeted communities. We actually do a lot of work in other home and commercial services. You can go to Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, even individuals on LinkedIn, and you can actually pull in all the followers of a particular person that's a big influencer in that space. Or you can pull in everybody that liked to comment. For example, there's a guy that talks a lot about, in the restaurant space, which we do a lot of work. And so he did a post about virtual assistants at one point, right? And so everybody that commented or liked on that are followers in the restaurant industry, and they resonate with that. Well, Flowchat allows me, I can go to that exact post on LinkedIn and pull all those people into my into it and create a drip DM messaging strategy to them. It's all about strategy in terms of the content. It's got to be good, educational, and so forth. You don't need to spam people, but it's the first one I've ever seen out there that allows you to do drip nurture with DMs versus just email. So cool tool we've been diving into and exploring. It's been really effective so far. So nothing else. You got two cool tools and resources you kind of jump into. Get into Randy into tab. I know you got a call here at the top of the hour at 2:00 your time. But give everybody a quick background. I gave a quick little preview, sort of what your world is, and a little preview kind of jumping into the subject matter on the whole outsourcing AI. And you're knee deep in using VAs and had experienced with it and some AI tools. But give everybody kind of a little background and kind of what led you to learning about that whole world and kind of where you are now with the academy and everything and the book and the podcast.
Sure. I guess I'm an old soul, blue collar entrepreneur that is unemployable. So I got into, becoming an entrepreneur, and I've always had a passion for building things and construction, and kind of generational guy that learned, swinging hammers in construction, but I always wanted to do it a little different way and tried to challenge the status quo there and go into like leadership management and building construction companies and ended up building a roofing company. And now I'm building hundreds of roofing companies.
You from
Colorado
originally, right?
Yeah. from Colorado, grew up in the Springs and went to school in Northern Colorado. And now I've been in the Denver metro area for the last, 15, 16 years, something like that. So, I love entrepreneurship. I love serving and helping others. And I've managed to make enough mistakes to figure some things out and figure out how to do things right. So, through all those mistakes and challenges, I was able to build a successful roofing company in my market, and went through a lot to get there. That's a whole nother show. We can dive into it if you want, but went through a lot, lost everything a couple different times, and went through a number of different recessions at this point, and figured out how to really build a successful business and streamline things and systemize things and create, duplicatable, repeatable processes, and built a model that I then was able to create a whole other business around, where we serve our industry and help contractors, build, grow, and scale roofing companies across the country.
And reflecting all those pain points, right? Because there's always, never want to miss an opportunity to share that wisdom. And we'll talk about the tactical stuff on outsourcing and virtual assistants, and the theme around this is that everybody's aware of it and knows it exists, but how they are tactically using it. But if you were to reflect on, I'm sure you've done this a number of times in your forum and lifelines, but of all those pain and blood, sweat, and tears, what would you say are kind of the 2 or 3 biggest wisdoms, right, that you've taken from it, from whether it's leadership or culture or what have you, that are more like timeless kind of lessons you've taken from, from your growth pains?
Yeah, great question. And it starts with, just from my own journey. I think early on, I've always had a chip on my shoulder, and I kind of wired myself in one way or another on, wanting to do things for the wrong reasons. I wanted to just do it for money or whatever, that, to prove other people wrong. I had this, like, I can outwork everybody mentality. I was never the smartest kid and the sharpest tool in the shed, as they say. So I just proved myself by outworking people, but I realized that, it's not about me. It's not about doing things just to be self-serving or make me look better or me make more money. Once I learned that, the gifts that God gave me as an entrepreneur, if I can use those to serve others and help others grow and impact other people's lives, it completely changed the way I go about business. So that's probably the biggest takeaway, is when I realized that, like, I can use the tools I have and the opportunities that I have to create opportunities for others and create environments for others to build great, lives for themselves. It changed everything, and it makes a whole different perspective and a whole different level of gratitude and appreciation for the lives that I get to impact versus, just the self-serving nature that I kind of fell into early on in my career.
Well, I think a lot of us too. I mean, as you, and part of it's, aging. I know you've got some kiddos. You have 1 or 2?
2 kids. Yep. And they are in the prime age right now. I mean, I ask this question all the time. It's like, I could be doing like a lot more, naturally inclined to do a lot more. But the reality of it is, I remind myself every single day that I only get so much time with my kids, and they're 8 and 11. So they're both, like, very active in school, very active in sports, very active in all the things. And we're having fun. Like, we hang out and we're having conversation. There's a lot of cool things that I get to experience right now with my kids. And that's more the priority than creating the new business or scaling this, scaling that. It's like, I only get so much time with them. And before life moves on and they grow up and graduate and all the things. So
we
I remind myself that daily.
About legacy too. We start thinking about, what is the impact and what is the give back element that we want to focus on, and how can we have an impact on, on others, in our, in our journey. And so I know that's certainly for me in my business. I mean, it's the most passionate business I've been in. And, most listeners kind of my journey, I'm in Atlanta, but I've 25 years similar, started a bunch of different companies, lots of blood, sweat, and tears along the way. What it's like to max out credit cards to run payroll and figured things out. And, a lot of people underestimate the power. I mean, entrepreneurship requires such a dynamic nature of skills, right? I mean, you got to know finance, you got to go marketing, you got to go messaging, sales, soft skills, hard skills. But, as you end up growing and you start building those additional skill sets kind of along the way, you get to a place of wanting to, pay it, forward in the journey. And so, this current company with Outsource Access, I mean, my last company, we manufactured and distributed teeth whitening products of all things, all over the world, and started using offshore talent. And that was my entry point of understanding the different parts of the world and what they were capable of. Mm-hmm. And just was blown away by the Philippines and just the people, the competency, completely Americanized culture, English speaking. And And my very first staff, my very first VA I hired, who grew up in a a dirt village there, only had one job before she came and worked with me at 22, became my chief operating officer. We grew to 500 employees in 4.5 years, and she became my COO. Her ability to learn, raise her lid, and desire and hunger to grow and learn, and it's humbled me a ton, right? I mean, especially in the U.S., we can get a little bit complacent sometimes, and especially this younger generation, but just the hunger they have to learn and to grow, and so yeah, I decided to get in this space similar to the passion you had, and just I wanted to bring what I learned to small to medium business. I didn't want to be a call center for the Fortune 500. I wanted to help small to medium businesses, the lifeblood of our economy, right? Not replacing jobs and shipping them overseas, right? It's really, as you know, and I've found, right? It's about integrating side by side. And we found ourselves in 85 industries doing all kinds of functions. And you look at our clients. I mean, our staff are showing right up on their Zoom calls for their weekly meetings, just like they're a part of their team. Kind of working side by side. It ends up being a win-win, in that journey. And so that's why I love sharing these stories of people. But what can they do? What are they capable of? Right before this, I was talking with a big national real estate business, and they've been around for 40 years. And I start sharing examples about what they can do and what they're capable of, and shared videos of how they're communicating and what they're selling. I'm like, yeah, listen, one staff, she's going to sell $500,000 this year, from the Philippines. And they're like, what? So it's once you can kind of open up your mind and kind of realize what's possible, there's a whole nother layer of competency and ability that's in that process. So, well, I love what you're doing on the pay it back side. And I'll pull up real quick for everybody to see, and we'll share this to kind of the show notes. But as Randy was talking about there, he's got the Roofing Academy that he started, and got the Roofing Academy podcast. And built a whole community around really helping others, right? I mean, how would you identify the profile of individuals you're helping with from what you've learned in building your own business? What's kind of the mission behind the academy?
Well, I mean, we are niche, right? We're roofing specific, but if you're blue collar in the services and the trades industry, and you're trying to build any sort of home services based company, customer facing, everything. I mean, there's an incredible amount of content that we put out there that can serve all that. My coaching program itself is going to be geared towards roofing, but our podcast and all of our content I wrote the book in a way. It's Contractor's Guide to Success. It's not just roofers, but obviously that's my experience is contracting and roofing. But at the end of the day, we're passionate about helping young entrepreneurs just like you, small to medium sized entrepreneurs wanting to build something special, wanting to build it and grow it and do it right. That's what we're passionate about doing. And I want to comment too, because you mentioned, obviously about the VA thing, and this comes up a lot, like, replacing jobs and these sort of things. I'm like, the way I look at it is, I want to be able to the people I hire. I want to be. I'm building an organization. I want A players. I want people that, if I can find someone that has great character and great upside that they may not even realize that they have, that's the person I want. I want to create an environment that they can grow and scale themselves and build a great life with me and be with me for a long period of time. And as I'm able to do that, we can pay a really good amount, and then to help them achieve their highest potential, then we start backfilling with virtual. So it's a combination. It's like a hybrid business model that I've been building, and we have some amazing, stateside staff that live with us. We have we're a hybrid company ourselves. I have people working all over the country, and my executive assistant, who's actually not a VA, but she's my executive assistant, been associated with the companies for 10 years now. Her and her family moved to Thailand for a year.
Oh, wow.
They just wanted to go do that, hang out. Great. So, I mean, I just think there's an endless world of possibilities when you expand your horizons. And as we're looking here at my YouTube channel, before my VA got a hold of this, it was terrible. I don't say terrible, but like, he's redone all the thumbnails, redone all the descriptions, and I got him some training and different things to get. He's dialed it in to where we're seeing an incredible growth on our viewership and on our subscribers, and everything's growing incredibly. We're having way more impact. All of this stuff that you see here, my VA out of the Philippines, he's a badass. He's become part of our family. He's a great, we connect all the time. Like, he's awesome at what he does, and he's constantly learning, constantly wanting to get better. And I buy tools and buy programs for him and train him and get him more training. And he leans in and gives me a marketing. He built out an entire year of our marketing strategy, and with all the posts and all the things that we're doing on his own. Like, he took the initiative to do that, and it's like, it's incredible, the things that like blows me away I get on a call and he's like, okay, here's our marketing plan for the year. And we spent an hour going through this. I'm like, wow, that's way better than I could have ever done myself. So that's one. We have three, right? So my idea is I grow my business. We have key people stateside and playing in key roles in the organization. We want them to grow, want them to have great, incredible opportunities. And then I like to backfill and get them their own virtual assistant for anything that can be done repetitively, that we can create a process, create an SOP for, that you can do consistently, that you need done consistently. Let a VA do that.
Yeah.
They work very, very well in those parameters. And it allows for my leadership team, and that everyone in my organization, I consider part of leadership, because my responsibility is to grow leaders. And I want everybody from the ground up to be a leader or embrace their idea of them growing as leaders. Like, their responsibility is to grow as a leader. My responsibility is to help them grow as leaders. And if I can do that and replace the tasks and the things that just take up a lot of time, it allows them to really find their superpower and find the areas that they're really, really good at. And I can create a role around that and then get them all VA. So in my ideal world, as I scale my businesses, leadership team, VA, leadership team, VA, leadership team, VA. And that's the model that I've been employing for the last 3-4 years now at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's ultimately about getting everyone to their genius zone, right?
Yep.
Just first building a couple of points that you shared, right? I mean, the beauty too of this is like being able to give people an opportunity and celebrating these people in these other parts of the world that, they're hardworking, they're driven. I mean, the Philippines has 800,000, 1 million people graduating with 4-year college degrees every year, right? They just don't have the local opportunities, right? That we have like in this country to be able to do. And to your point about celebrating, I was going to show, you'll appreciate this. Like we're actually the only company in the Philippines that has our own magazine. We actually do nothing but just celebrate our employees. So we have a big photo shoot every year. We bring our top staff, whoever was rated, and our customers actually kind of compete to see who they can rate to be their top one, and whichever wins goes on the cover of our magazine every year. And so we have our own magazine called Virtual Success Magazine, and we bring our employees in, we do a big photo shoot, we share their journey, we share their background, and it's all for them. This whole magazine is dedicated to just our employees. We distribute it to the local universities and everything around. It helps us attract talent. But we've done it all through the years. This is my very first VA, J-Cell, who very first person I hired off a job board in the Philippines that became my COO over 500 people, right? Never done it before in her life, right? Her ability to grow and learn kind of in that journey. So it's cool to see the celebration of your team and their growth and development.
That's incredible. You know what? You want to hear a story? We just got last week, one of our VA that works for my roofing company, he just got married, right? And in the Philippines, it's a big deal. Like it's a big celebration, and they make this shirt. I forget what it's called, but they make a shirt and they make all these pins and emblems and things. Yes, there it is. That
I realized I was sitting there talking the whole time and didn't have the visual up. So now I got the visual with the magazine I was talking
about.
And
they make that shirt. And when they get married, they wear that as like a symbol. And like, he literally put our logo on his like shirt when he was like, that's the importance. That's the impact that we get to have. And it was special. He made a whole video and sent it to us. We shared it with the whole team on our team meeting we did. And like, people were like emotional about it. It was cool. It was a really cool overall experience that you don't think about like, oh, I'm just going to hire a VA and save some money. No, it's not really, it's way more of an impact than you realize.
Now it's the breadth and depth of what's possible is far greater, right? Exactly what you said. I'm going to get a VA and save some money, right? A lot of people go into this just like it's all about cost savings, right? And it's about low level admin, and they think of call centers, and it's far more in terms of competency and ability. I mean, to the point we were talking about, we got staff that have been fully trained in Xactimate, right? And are doing Xactimate proposals and estimates for that had never done it before in their life, right? And inside of 45 days, they're trained and up and performing at an incredible, level. So yeah, the initiative that they take to learn and to grow and take things to the next level. And then to your point about your team, right? It's about equipping your staff. And it's interesting. We always do this, the way we kind of kick off a lot of times with clients. Sometimes clients will come to us and they know exactly what they want, what they're looking for. They need somebody to do accounting, somebody to do social media, somebody to do graphics, somebody to do CRM administration. But a lot of times they're not really sure where to begin. And we have this 2-question exercise that speaks to exactly what you talked about, right? Which is, at the end of the day, what are you doing that isn't the best use of your time, and how many hours per month are you spending on it? And then from where you sit in the business, what do you think you should be doing that you aren't due to time, money, or knowledge constraints? And Randy, these 2 simple questions, we literally I've done startups. I had a $300 million pharmacy in Wisconsin we work with, and the CEO's like, man, I've had every consultant, like they give me tons of surveys and so forth. I'm like, trust me, 2 simple questions. And I tell them, copy and paste these questions, go send it to your management team, tell them to brain dump and come back, and you'll be blown away of what they will come back with. Because ultimately you want everybody waking up and doing what's the highest and best use of their, of their time. And so it's a whole little exercise we've created that ends up unpacking a lot of those. So I'm sure like with your team out in the field, right? At the end of the day, you've already pre-identified what isn't necessarily, what's the highest and best use you want them focusing on and executing every single day. And then how can you have staff supporting them to kind of absorb that, those other functions?
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, now, and as a coach, right, I have a consulting company, and we have a number of companies we work with all across the country, and roofing is in trades, any business, but it's very cyclical, and it's really challenging to navigate. Like if you're in a business model where you're relying on hailstorms, for instance, right? You just talked about Xactimate and supplementing. Companies have to be able to like expand and contract like month over month, year over year. And that gets really difficult, to do. And for us, not only with a lot of our companies we work with from the coaching side, but all our own companies, we have VAs doing a lot of the task work that we can shift. Like if the company shifts, we'll shift their tasks based on what the demand is in the company. And that allows us the flexibility to navigate the challenging, influxes or the fluctuations of expanding contraction markets, right? And whether we have storms or we don't have storms, the demand and supply basically in our market and in our industry is constantly changing. And the best way that I've found to be able to create a sustainable, I'm all about sustainability. So when I'm working with the contractor, like I'm not, I open with science of scaling, but like at the end of the day, my focus is I want sustainability. I want a company that can grow over time and be profitable and create a lifestyle and create lifestyle freedom that most entrepreneurs want when they start their business. And a lot of times, unfortunately, a lot of times they never get that. And what I have found is that you can create a business and fill specific roles in that business with virtual assistants. And that allows you to work towards that freedom that you want without the stress of having to constantly hire and fire and train and bring on people. It's really tricky.
Yeah. It creates like what I kind of describe it as like a release valve, right? I mean, it allows for incrementally being able to throttle up and throttle down, right? Kind of as needed, at a very cost-effective rate. And because of the willingness to learn and to your point, right? I mean, your staff kind of going and coming up with the whole strategy on YouTube and marketing. And that's what, like when we've architected it at Outsource Access. So when people work, we're not just providing cheap staff. It's like, it's affordable staff, but it's providing a whole strategic advisory around what else can we do, how else can we further maximize what's possible. But it does, it allows you to throttle up and down, as needed when you have, in roofing and others that are seasonal and can create an impact. And, it's on a service fee base, right? You're not dealing with the employment costs and, healthcare 100%. And what have you, that ends up being a thing you have to kind of navigate. But it really, to the point of not replacing jobs, it's like, it's that gap between entrepreneurs that they don't have enough money to hire that next full-time employee for $70,000 or $80,000 plus health insurance, plus FICA taxes and so forth. So they just have their existing employees or themselves just work more and more and burn out, right? And this creates what I call that release valve. Like, a steaming pot's got the release valve that releases that steam when it gets too hot in the pot. It's the same thing. It creates a release valve of a gap that they basically wouldn't have hired for anyway because they couldn't afford it. They can kind of plug in and serve that resource, right? I mean, you probably wouldn't hire, a $75,000 person to do your YouTube channel, right? But somebody from the Philippines that's affordable and can learn and proactive, right? Very much kind of within the wheelhouse.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. Because then it allows me the ability to pay my coaches what they deserve, right? I mean, if you're gonna be a high level business coach or a high level assistant, executive assistant, like I want to make sure they're upside and they can be, paid well enough to live in Colorado in our market. It's like, the cost of living is insane. And it's what, $20 an hour now is a minimum, the minimum wage in our market now. So it's like, it's tricky to try to, find, and not to discredit some people, but there has been a little bit of a shift. And I've noticed that the talent pool locally has gotten thinner, and more and more people want to work less and make more, right? It's like, how little can I work and how much money can I make? And that's become like the sentiment around like the next generation. And I don't want to generalize too much, but I've seen that. I've seen it within my own businesses. I've seen it with people I coach, and I can hire a VA that's like extremely efficient. What they can get done in 4 hours is more efficient than, unfortunately, a lot of someone just fresh out of college expecting $80,000 a year. You know, a VA can get done in 4 hours what they can't get done in 8 hours.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just the reality of it. It's just reality. At the end of the day, I have a business that I have a responsibility to take care of the people that are in my business, the ones that are working hard or working efficiently. But I can bridge that gap with VAs. It's just like you said, that release valve.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately the work ethic and drive a lot of times. Sometimes you do struggle with it, right? And in terms of the quickness and speed and hunger that they have to kind of learn, right? That you don't see that a lot of times in other capacities. I mean, it makes a big difference. And it's when you see the different elements that they can do. And to your point, it kind of reminded me on this one in the trades kind of industry that we've ended up supporting and seeing kind of what their journey has been. But they were dealing with routing issues. They brought in a staff that was able to do all the routing for all their technicians. It's actually this one here. This is a turf care business, right? And they were struggling, trying to grow, right? And they brought on Ivan. Ivan had never done routing software in his life and learned this field routing software to route 1,000 technicians a week inside of 45 days. And then they need somebody to do sales. And Christina came, learned how to talk about chemicals to customers to upsell them on turf care treatment. She's going to sell $500,000 this year for them. And then Rhea, accounting and bookkeeping, she learned all the accounting, CPA certified, QuickBooks certified. So for like less than $6,500 a month, right, they're getting 3 full-time people side by side working with the rest of their team, right, supporting their organization with playbooks, with process, with performance reviews. So it's a whole different ballgame that people just don't realize, like kind of what's possible. So
absolutely.
Well, man, I know you got to run here. You got a call coming up, but I just want to celebrate everybody with Randy here, and I'll share all the roof notes. But Elite Roofing is kind of where it all started for him. But now it's kind of grown into his podcast. Here's his book, Start It, Build It, Grow It. That we'll share to the notes, and then the Roofer Academy, the Roofing Academy you kind of built. And I know roofing is only part of the equation. You're kind of supporting the trades from a much broader and broadening standpoint. But I love what you're doing and pouring into the community. And so we'll put all the notes. Everybody can reach out and connect with you there, and then follow your podcast. And I want to be on your podcast, I think, here in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. And you can check that out. It's the Start Build Grow Show. So anywhere you download your audio podcast, go to the Start Build Grow Show. If you want to see any of the audio or the video versions of it, it's at we host everything on our YouTube channel, which is just the Roofing Academy.
Yeah, it's all there, and the whole show and everything in the process. So we'll share all the links, and subscribe and check it out. It's great stories. And on our end, you can go to outsourceaccess.com. And as I shared, we've actually recently released our roofer revenue recovery program. One of the multiple things we're doing within that space specifically, we got experts building on Xactimate and how to do it and actually serve it as a service for roofers to navigate that cash flow gap of getting kind of funds to be a dedicated team just to them to do their supplement work. And if you shoot an email to tools@outsourceaccess.com, put Randy in the subject line, whenever it come from, tools with an S @outsourceaccess.com. We'll send you this 2-question exercise, which is a great way to begin the journey of figuring out exactly where the constraints you're dealing with for yourself, for your team members. It's got over 700 tasks you can scroll through that we've been doing over the years. It's a great journey to kind of unpack and see where the constraints and the challenges are. So, well, thanks, Randy. I'll let you jump on your call, man. It was great chatting with you. There's a lot more. I think we got some splinter topics we could dive into, but I appreciate the time and look forward to staying in touch.
Likewise, my man. Looking forward to doing it again. And I'll see you on my show in a couple weeks.
Right. Perfect. Look forward to it.
Take it easy.
See you, man.